Did you know that throughout history, many countries have banned the Christian faith? They persecuted, imprisoned, and even killed those who dared to speak about God. Many nations that, at certain points in history, persecuted Christian groups, often those who disagreed with the dominant faith or were considered heretics, now take pride in their Christian heritage, celebrating traditions and values that have helped shape their cultural identities. Up next, I present 10 countries that once lived through dark chapters of religious persecution but, over the centuries, have undergone profound transformations and are now recognized as nations of faith. And the last one on the list will leave you speechless. Stay until the end to find out. But before we begin, I ask you to do something important: leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. 1. Italy. Imagine living in an empire where professing your faith could cost you your life. At the height of the Roman Empire, Christianity was seen as a direct threat to the power of the Caesars, a secret of faith that defied the polytheistic beliefs of the time. Emperors like Nero and Diocletian went to extreme lengths to eradicate this growing religion. Christians were thrown to wild beasts in the Colosseums, burned alive as human torches, and brutally tortured. But then, something unimaginable happened. Emperor Constantine, one of the most influential rulers in history, claimed to have had a divine vision before a major battle. He ordered his army to paint the cross on their shields, and against all odds, emerged victorious. Shortly after, in 313 AD, he signed the Edict of Milan, legalizing Christianity. What was once persecuted had now become the empire's official faith. Today, Italy not only bears the marks of this turbulent past but has also become the heart of global Catholicism. The Vatican, home of the Pope and the headquarters of the Catholic Church, welcomes millions of pilgrims every year. Majestic churches like St. Peter's Basilica, the Milan Cathedral, and the Sistine Chapel stand as living witnesses to a faith that once faced extinction. Italy's story proves that not even the most powerful empire on earth can silence the truth. What was once forbidden and punishable by death is now celebrated in one of the most religious nations in the world. How did such a dramatic transformation happen? Stay with us to uncover more incredible twists in history. 2. England. England's religious history is marked by betrayals, bloody conflicts, and unexpected twists. In the 16th century, a shocking event would forever change the course of Christianity in the country. King Henry VIII broke away from the Catholic Church and founded the Church of England, all because the Pope refused to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon. This act not only enraged Rome but also plunged England into a period of intense religious persecution. During the reign of Mary I, Bloody Mary, Protestants were ruthlessly hunted down. Hundreds were burned alive, including clergy and scholars who dared to oppose the restoration of Catholicism. But when her half-sister, Elizabeth I, took the throne, the situation reversed. Now, Catholics faced the wrath of the government. Fear and intolerance spread across the kingdom, leading to brutal executions and the banning of unauthorized religious practices. However, over the centuries, England underwent a radical transformation. The country matured in its approach to religious freedom, leaving behind its violent past and solidifying its Christian identity. The Church of England became one of the most influential institutions in the world, and its traditions continue to shape English culture. Today, majestic cathedrals like Westminster Abbey and Canterbury Cathedral not only represent the nation's Christian faith but also hold centuries of history, coronations, and the burials of kings and queens. A country once torn apart by religious wars now proudly carries its Christian heritage. 3. Spain. If there's one country whose religious history carries deep scars, it's Spain. For centuries, the Christian faith was enforced with an iron fist, and those who dared to dissent faced a terrifying fate. At the height of the Spanish Inquisition, the Tribunal of the Holy Office hunted down heretics, suspected converts, and even Christians who questioned official doctrine. Secret prisons, ruthless trials, and public executions became tools of fear and control. The Inquisition, established by the Catholic monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, in 1478, aimed to purify the kingdom's faith, ensuring that no trace of previous religions remained. Jews and Muslims who had converted to Christianity, known as conversos and moriscos, were constantly watched, and any suspicion of practicing their old beliefs in secret could lead them to the stake. However, over time, Spain underwent a surprising transformation. As the country modernized, the weight of persecution faded, and the nation began to embrace its Christian heritage in a vibrant way. Today, Spain is one of the countries with the most religious festivals in the world, such as Seville's Holy Week, marked by emotional processions and sacred images carried through the streets to the sound of chants and drums. Additionally, Spain's sacred architecture is among the most impressive on the planet. The majestic Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, designed by the genius Antoni Gaudí, is one of the most visited religious sites in the world. The Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela remains one of the most important pilgrimage destinations for Christians across the globe. Spain, which once enforced its faith with an iron grip, now expresses its Christian identity through art, devotion, and tradition. But the next country on this list has an even more dramatic history, with a past of brutal persecutions that few people know about. 4. France. France, known for its art, culture, and philosophy, also carries one of the bloodiest histories of religious persecution in Europe. In the 16th century, the country was engulfed in brutal conflicts between Catholics and Protestants, the Huguenots, plunging into a cycle of devastating religious wars. But one single night marked the peak of terror, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. In the early hours of August 24, 1572, under orders from the French crown, thousands of Protestants were massacred in Paris and other cities across the country. Streets ran red with blood, entire families were wiped out, and terror spread like wildfire. What was meant to be a final blow against the Huguenots instead left deep scars on the nation, forever altering the course of Christianity in France. Despite the bloodshed and religious intolerance, Christianity never vanished from France's heart. Faith endured, resisted, and left its mark in every cathedral, every piece of art, and every secular tradition. Today, though a secular state, France still echoes its Christian heritage in the architecture of Notre Dame, the grandeur of Sacré-Cœur, and the breathtaking beauty of Chartres Cathedral. Many religious traditions remain ingrained in French culture, from saint celebrations to historical processions and religious festivals that still draw crowds. French literature and art have also been deeply shaped by faith, with figures like Victor Hugo, who immortalized Notre Dame, and the stunning stained glass windows of Gothic churches, telling biblical stories in vivid colors. France, once a nation that persecuted thousands of Christians, now holds one of the richest Christian legacies in the world. But the next country on this list has an even more astonishing story, where Christianity was nearly wiped out, only to rise again in the most unbelievable way. You won't believe what happened there. 5. Germany. Germany's religious history is marked by one of the most transformative revolutions in Christianity, the Protestant Reformation. In the early 16th century, Martin Luther, a German monk, challenged the authority of the Catholic Church by publishing his 95 Theses, questioning practices he saw as corrupt and contrary to Christ's teachings. His boldness ignited a movement that shook Europe, dividing the continent between Protestants and Catholics and sparking centuries of religious conflicts and bloody wars. Within Germany, religious wars between Christian factions spread rapidly, leading to brutal persecution. Groups like the Anabaptists and other dissenters were hunted and executed for defying religious orthodoxy. Yet, amid the chaos, the Reformation sparked a revival of Christian faith, emphasizing the scriptures and the pursuit of religious freedom. Over time, Germany learned to embrace its religious diversity. The nation that was once a battleground of Christian beliefs now honors both Protestant and Catholic traditions. Landmarks like Cologne Cathedral, a testament to Germany's Catholic heritage, and St. Thomas Church, deeply tied to the Lutheran Reformation, stand as symbols of reconciliation and coexistence. Germany, once divided by faith, now celebrates its different traditions with a spirit of unity and dialogue. But the next country on this list has a story that will leave you speechless. 6. South Korea. South Korea's history is a powerful testimony of faith, resilience, and renewal. During the Joseon dynasty, Korean society was deeply influenced by Confucian philosophy, which emphasized hierarchy and social order, viewing religion as a threat to stability. Christianity first entered the country in the late 18th century, brought by French Catholic missionaries, but it was seen as a major disruption. In response, the Joseon dynasty launched relentless persecutions. The first Christian converts, known as hidden Catholics, were forced to practice their faith in secret, often torn between Confucian traditions and their new beliefs. Thousands of Korean martyrs were brutally executed for refusing to renounce their faith. It is estimated that over 8,000 Christians were killed between the late 18th and 19th centuries, enduring systematic persecution, torture, imprisonment, and public executions. Yet, Christianity not only survived, it thrived. Today, South Korea is one of the most Christian nations in Asia, home to a significant Protestant and Catholic population. The country boasts some of the largest churches in the world, including Yeouido Full Gospel Church in Seoul, with millions of members. Christianity has become a dominant spiritual force, shaping South Korea's modern society, ethics, and cultural values. The revival of faith in South Korea is a remarkable example of how hope, courage, and belief can flourish even in the face of intense persecution. But the next country on our list has an even more astonishing story. 7. Portugal. Like its neighbor Spain, Portugal was profoundly shaped by the Inquisition, a period when Catholicism was rigidly enforced, and relentless persecution targeted so-called conversos, Jews and Muslims who had converted to Christianity, as well as anyone seen as a threat to Catholic orthodoxy. The Portuguese Inquisition, established in 1536, hunted down heretics and religious dissenters, with the Tribunal of the Holy Office investigating those suspected of practicing secret faiths. Those who opposed or questioned Christianity faced torture, imprisonment, and, in many cases, execution by burning at the stake. Fear and repression dominated everyday life. Religious surveillance and self-censorship forced many Portuguese to practice their beliefs in secrecy. This shadow of persecution lasted for centuries. However, as modernization progressed and church and state became increasingly separate, Portugal underwent a dramatic transformation. Yet, Portugal's Christian soul was never extinguished. The nation remains deeply Catholic, with religious traditions still woven into its culture. Festivals such as the renowned Feast of Our Lady of Agony in Viana do Castelo draw thousands of faithful for emotional processions. Portugal's sacred architecture also bears witness to its deep devotion, with grand churches like the Basílica de Estrela in Lisbon, a landmark of Portuguese religiosity. Across towns and villages, religious festivals dating back to the 16th century continue to be celebrated, preserving traditions passed down through generations. Portugal, once marked by centuries of religious persecution, now proudly displays its Christian heritage. Far from being erased, faith endured, reflecting the spiritual resilience of the Portuguese people. But the next country on our list has an even more shocking story, where Christianity was nearly wiped out, only to rise again in the most unexpected way. 8. Albania. Few people know that between 1967 and 1991, Albania was declared the world's first atheist state. Under Enver Hoxha, one of the most ruthless communist leaders of the era, religion was completely eradicated from public life. Hoxha's government took extreme measures to suppress faith, making religious practice a crime. Churches, mosques, and synagogues were shut down, destroyed, or converted into warehouses and atheist museums. Albania became the only country where all forms of religion were banned by law, and anyone caught practicing their faith was imprisoned, tortured, or even executed. Christianity, which had a strong historical presence in Albania, was forced underground, with believers secretly holding services in hiding places and even caves. Religious persecution was relentless. Any religious symbol, whether a cross, an image of a saint, or even a simple act of worship, was seen as subversive and punishable. Albania's spiritual identity was erased, and the nation was forced to live under state-imposed atheism, creating a deep spiritual void. However, the fall of the communist regime in 1991 brought an astonishing transformation. Religious freedom was restored, and Christianity began to flourish once again. Catholic and Orthodox churches were reopened, and new places of worship were built. After decades without religious freedom, the Albanian people rediscovered their faith with incredible passion. Today, Albania stands as a powerful example of spiritual revival, with churches and mosques full of worshippers, and a renewed cultural and religious identity that reflects the strength of a nation that overcame oppression. Albania's story is a remarkable lesson of resilience and hope, proving that even in times of extreme repression, faith can rise from the ashes. But the next country on our list has an even more extraordinary story, one that will leave you speechless. Believe me, what happened there is even more surprising. 9. Switzerland. Switzerland's religious history is both fascinating and complex. During the 16th century Protestant Reformation, the country became deeply divided. With its structure of autonomous cantons, Switzerland witnessed intense conflicts between Catholics and Protestants. Each canton adopted its own dominant faith, some became strongly Protestant, while others remained Catholic. This religious fragmentation led to tensions and persecutions, with minority groups being marginalized, expelled, or even persecuted. In certain regions, religious authorities sought to impose a single religious tradition, resulting in violent conflicts. One of the most significant moments of this era was the massacre of St. Peter in 1531, where Catholics and Protestants clashed in bloody battles. For decades, religion was a primary source of division and violence. However, Switzerland underwent an extraordinary transformation. Over time, religious differences were overcome, and the country became a global example of peaceful coexistence and interfaith dialogue. Today, Switzerland is renowned for its neutrality and respect for religious diversity, serving as a model of how different faiths can coexist in harmony. Churches, synagogues, and mosques stand side by side in Swiss cities, and the country celebrates Christian traditions while also respecting Jewish, Muslim, and other religious customs. The country's Christian heritage is still visible in its medieval churches, religious festivals, and cultural values that continue to shape Swiss society. Now, get ready for the next country on our list. Its history of faith and persecution is even more astonishing and will truly surprise you. The religious transformation that took place there was completely unexpected, and you won't believe what happened. 10. Japan. The history of Christianity in Japan is one of the most surprising and impactful stories of all time. What began as a promising and growing faith soon became a relentlessly persecuted religion. In the 16th century, early missionaries like Saint Francis Xavier arrived in Japan, bringing Christianity to thousands of Japanese people. The faith spread rapidly, gaining followers among samurais, merchants, and peasants. Churches were built, and Christian communities flourished in various regions. But this rise wouldn't last long. In 1614, the Tokugawa regime declared a total ban on Christianity. For the shogunate, this foreign religion posed a threat to social order and governmental power. Christianity was relentlessly hunted down. Anyone discovered practicing the faith was tortured, forced to renounce it, or condemned to death. One of the most brutal tests was the fumii, a loyalty test where Christians were forced to step on images of Jesus or the Virgin Mary. Those who refused this act were either executed or subjected to horrific tortures, including the feared upside-down crucifixion. In the face of this persecution, many converts did the unimaginable. They hid for centuries. They became the Kakure Kurishiten, hidden Christians, keeping their faith in absolute secrecy. Without churches, priests, or Bibles, only oral tradition and the strength of their faith kept the hope alive. Their rituals were adapted, blending Christian symbols with Japanese elements to deceive the persecutors. For over 250 years, Japan believed it had eradicated Christianity. But in 1865, something shocking happened. When French missionaries rebuilt a church in Nagasaki, a group of Japanese people approached and asked an unexpected question. "Where is the statue of Mary?" It was proof that the hidden Christians still existed. After centuries of persecution, they survived, hiding their faith in complete silence, waiting for the day they could worship freely again. With the Meiji Restoration, religious freedom was finally restored, and the descendants of the hidden Christians were able to reveal their faith without fear. Today, Japan, which once tried to erase Christianity, has become a country where faith can be practiced freely. Churches are spread across various cities, and the legacy of the Kakure Kurishiten lives on, an extraordinary testimony to the resilience and strength of faith in the face of darkness. These examples demonstrate that, although history has recorded moments of intolerance and violence in the name of faith, transformation is possible. Recognizing the mistakes of the past and valuing dialogue and religious freedom have allowed these nations to reinvent themselves. Today, they not only preserve the memory of these events but also celebrate faith as a fundamental element of their cultural and spiritual identity. This journey of transformation inspires us to seek a future where faith and freedom walk hand in hand, promoting peace and unity among people. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and watch the next one.